think she probably will.
That is absolutely lovely. Thank you very much.
So good.
Those cornbreads are just stunning.
Much crispier on the outside than I thought they were going to be.
And soft on the inside.
Yeah.
Like me.
Like you. Thank you. It's really lovely to see you as well.
Definitely. Thank you.
Right, all the details of today's recipe and more delicious ideas from our This Morning chefs, head to the free This Morning app.
Now then, with just minutes until the identity of the new Prime Minister is revealed, will it be Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak who gets their hands on the keys to number 10?
Well, we'll be bringing you the live coverage of the announcement very shortly, and we're joined in the studio now by Nick Ferrari and Sonia Soda. Good morning to both of you. We'd normally off air by now, but here we are. It's a busy day in politics today. So, Nick, just explain a little bit about where we are at this point in the day, what we're about to see.
You are about to see the announcement of who has won the Conservative nomination, will be our next Prime Minister. Sir Graham Brady, I would imagine, will do the nomination. He's the chairman of the 1922 committee. What is that? That is like the trade union, if you will, of Conservative MPs. They run the rules. Sonia will probably have views, as many others do. This, I think, has gone on too long. We're looking at about 5 or 6 weeks. I think they will review that, Holly. I think next time they would look to make it a little bit quicker. But this is 10,000 miles the candidates have travelled each. I did a hustings last week in Wembley, and I was speaking to one of the teams. They've chalked up 10,000 miles, thick end of 6 weeks, I think it is. And now we come to the end. We'll have a new Prime Minister in approximately 6 minutes.
Well, Gavin Barwell, who was Theresa May's Chief of Staff, said that it's been a surprisingly divisive and unpleasant leadership election. And when you see publicly this sort of what looks like infighting, that's not going to do anybody any good, surely.
No, and I think, actually, if you look at the candidates' ratings, in particular Liz Truss, they've taken a bit of a plummet over the 6 weeks with people who voted Conservative in 2019. And I think that's a product of exactly what you said there, Philip, which is that, you know, people see these two people from the same party. I mean, most people would watch those leadership debates, I think, and not really believe that they're from the same party because the way it got so personal and bitter. And it wasn't just about the issues. It did actually get quite, you know, personal about their own backgrounds and whether they're in touch with public and the voters. So I think it has really... I think the Conservative Party was not in a great place going into this leadership election, but I think it's actually damaged the Conservative Party brand more.
So, voting closed on Friday. It seems, if you sort of pick up any paper today, that it's a complete
the
done
headline
deal.
writers have decided. I don't know why we're sitting here. They've decided who the next Prime Minister is. Look, it would be quite extraordinary. What will be interesting will be the percentages. I think that Liz Truss has won. I don't know that it'll be quite as a resounding victory as her team have been saying.
Right.
But it would be remarkable were it not Liz Truss's. And I think Rishi has to look to his campaign, Mr Sunak, I'm sorry, it didn't really engage, where Liz Truss, and I'm sure you've attended them as well, I was one at Leeds, I was one at London, as I've said, she just seemed to get more of the passion, Philip, more of the electricity in the room seemed to be directed towards her.
I think that's right, and I think Rishi Sunak also made a number of missteps in the campaign, so was kind of forced into U-turns, which I think doesn't always go down well with the Conservative membership.
Well, we've got a sort of minute or so to go, and we'll discuss this afterwards as well. It's what is actually in the in-tray when you get there, and that is for any Prime Minister of any party, that is an unenviable position.
No, it is a pretty terrible job to be walking into right now. It's, as you say, an unenviable in-tray. I think this cost of living crisis, it's actually off the scale. It's bigger than COVID financially. It's bigger than the 2008 financial crisis. And we don't know when the end is in sight because it all depends on how long the war in Ukraine goes on for.
I'm thinking these words through as I say. I think this is the biggest challenge since Churchill for the Second World War. Honestly, with the to-do list, the energy crisis, the size of the problems, the inflation, which could be at 20%. That means every time your shoppers go, that their pound is worth 20. This is massive for whoever, I think it's Liz Truss, whoever takes over.
Well, Liz Truss wants to... she was talking when it came to price freezes, for some energy bills, consistently refused to explicitly set out what she would do to combat soaring energy costs, although she has said, and I was listening to her earlier on, that she has a plan, but she just wasn't going to tell us until there was a reason to tell us, because she was going to be the next Prime Minister. Like big incentives here. Where's the money coming from?
The money's going to come from, unfortunately, they'll probably have to print some more money. She's going to rein in some spending elsewhere. She's talked about some programmes that she wants to curtail. But unfortunately, the other problem is that if they print more money, that will then feed into inflation, and that's the difficulty they face.
I'm just having a look, seeing what's happening here. Just making sure.
The second of those two gents is Sir Graham.
I think this is it. This is Brady. Let's listen.
This is the chairman of the party.
Good afternoon. Today marks the culmination of the Conservative leadership election. It's been a huge honour to be co-chairman of our party, working alongside Ben Elliott. And I'm hugely proud of the way everyone has worked together to deliver this contest, which has shown the Conservative Party to be in good voice and good strength. We've held 12 regional hustings, the length and breadth of the United Kingdom, attended by 20,000 party members. It's been a long campaign. 20,000 party members and watched online by over 2.5 million
This
members.
is Andrew Stevenson, co-chair of the party. Obviously, this might go on for some time before he introduces Graham Brady, who will then...
Well, he's doing the housekeeping. He's thanking all the people. They've done 12 rallies up and down the country. He's quite rightly thanking the work.
They all know each other pretty well by now,
he's thanking the work.
So whilst he's thanking the workers, let's go back to that question, where's the money coming from?
Well, again, this is what she has talked about, some of the savings that she will make. There will unfortunately be the drive to try and print more money, but she's also talking about various tax breaks as well, and possibly even she has floated a cut in VAT.
Yes, that's right. I think the really big question for me is she's now hinted that there's going to be some pretty big ticket support. But will she go ahead with those very expensive tax cuts that she's promised? Experts think that they alone could cost £50 billion a year, and they don't target the sort of hardest up household, they don't target pensioners. So there's a big question about whether she can afford to do that as well as freezing prices.
And that tax that was brought in to fund NHS and social care, do you remember that? That's likely to be stopped, so she'll have that cash, but that will make the issue of social care, as people get older and elderly care, that will make it a very live issue
Well,
again.
Rishi Sunak pledged to introduce a £10 fine for patients who miss GP and hospital appointments to help reduce waiting lists.
He did. Look, I think there's an argument, Sonia. If you look at it cold economic facts, you have to say Rishi Sunak was probably presented a better agenda, but there was something emotional about Liz Truss. She seemed to catch the mood of the country. And Philip's right. We never heard any of the actual policies, or sorry, Holly was right. We never heard any of the actual policies, but I think she's on the threshold.
I think that's right, but I think the thing that it's easy to forget is that schools and hospitals, they're facing huge energy costs as well. So if she's going to have to cut back in terms of state spending because she wants to do these big tax cuts, what knock-on impact is that going to have on the NHS?
Well, record numbers on hospital waiting lists. Nearly 1 in 8 people currently waiting for treatment. Emergency services are warning patients are being harmed because of delays responding to 999 calls and long waits in A&E. And the reason we're going through these is because we started off by discussing what is in the in-tray and where your priorities have to lie.
And you haven't touched on crime. The highest crime in England and Wales for 20 years. Education, as you rightly point out, Sonia. And that's why I say, everywhere you look, this is one heck of an in-tray that she, or he, is coming into.
We should also mention Ukraine, obviously.
Of course.
You know, Europe is still... There is a war in Europe currently, and Boris Johnson, we know, offered an awful lot of help, sort of politically and military support at the beginning of that. So that's in the in-tray as well.
Absolutely. And I thought the interviews that we saw from President Zelensky over the weekend were really interesting because he was very strong on this idea that the higher gas prices we're seeing across Europe, the huge impact it's having on, you know, ordinary people up and down the country, that is the price that we're paying for facing down Russia. And, you know, obviously it's a completely different scale of cost to, you know, that's being paid by people in Ukraine with all the awful war crimes going on. But he really wanted to get across this message that it's something that we have to do, and it's in our interest, it's not just in Ukraine's interest.
I think the two candidates are potentially arriving now. There's Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak taking to the stage. So we must be... actually, they're taking their seats, so we must be nearing the announcement, I would have thought. The housekeeping has been done. Party faithful sitting around. One of the big questions was that, I mean, this has obviously divided the Tory party. Can they be united? We'll probably be discussing that in just a moment.
And ladies and gentlemen, to announce the results of our leadership election, please welcome our returning officer, Sir Graham Brady.
Thank you, Andrew. Good afternoon, everybody. On the 7th of July, the Prime Minister announced his resignation as leader of our party. The 1922 committee then organised 5 ballots over an 8-day period, concluding the part of the leadership election for which we have responsibility, and putting forward the candidates to the National Convention and CCHQ for the programme of hustings all over the United Kingdom and the ballot of the membership that has now concluded. I worked closely with the board of the party, CCHQ and Civica Electoral Services to ensure that all qualifying members had the opportunity to vote and to ensure that our ballot was secure as well as free and fair. I'd like to thank the 1922 executive, and in particular my fellow officers, Naz Ghani, Will Ragg, Sir Geoffrey Clifton-Brown, Bob Blackman and Gary Sambrook, and our staff for all of their help and support, especially during the administration of the parliamentary rounds of voting. I would like to thank the party board and staff for all their hard work organising the hustings, which allowed so many members to see the candidates in action, whether in person or online. I'm grateful to CES for the professionalism with which they have dealt with the ballot in distributing, collecting and counting the votes, both online and by post. Finally, I want to thank all the party members who have taken this responsibility very seriously, all the candidates who put themselves forward for election, and in particular, my colleagues Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss, who ran such excellent campaigns in the full glare of media scrutiny and who showed themselves to be outstanding candidates to be the leader of our party. Now the result. I, Sir Graham Brady, the returning officer for the Conservative and Unionist Party leadership election, declare that the total number of eligible voters was 172,437. The turnout in the election was 82.6%. The total number of votes rejected was 654. The total number of valid votes given to each candidate was as follows. Rishi Sunak, 60,399. Liz Truss, 81,326. Therefore, I give notice that Liz Truss is elected as the leader of the Conservative and Unionist Party. Liz, come up on stage.
Well, thank you, Sir Graham. It's an honour to be elected as leader of the Conservative and Unionist Party. I'd like to thank the 1922 committee, the party chairman and the Conservative Party for organising one of the longest job interviews in history. Thank you very much. I'd also like to thank my family, my friends, my political colleagues and all of those who helped on this campaign. I'm incredibly grateful for all of your support. I'd like to pay tribute to my fellow candidates, particularly Rishi Sunak. It's been a hard-fought campaign. I think we have shown the depth and breadth of talent in our Conservative Party. And I also want to thank our outgoing leader, my friend, Boris Johnson. Boris, you got Brexit done. You crushed Jeremy Corbyn. you rolled out the vaccine and you stood up to Vladimir Putin. You were admired from Kiev to Carlisle. Friends and colleagues, thank you for putting your faith in me to lead our great Conservative Party, the greatest political party on earth. I know that our beliefs resonate with the British people. Our beliefs in freedom, in the ability to control your own life, in low taxes, in personal responsibility. And I know that's why people voted for us in such numbers in 2019. And as your party leader, I intend to deliver what we promised those voters right across our great country. During this leadership campaign, I campaigned as a Conservative and I will govern as a Conservative. And my friends, we need to show that we will deliver over the next 2 years. I will deliver a bold plan to cut taxes and grow our economy. I will deliver on the energy crisis, dealing with people's energy bills, but also dealing with the long-term issues we have on energy supply. And I will deliver on the National Health Service. But we all will deliver for our country. And I will make sure that we use all the fantastic talents of the Conservative Party, our brilliant members of Parliament and peers, our fantastic councillors, our MSs, our MSPs, all of our councillors and activists and members right across our country. Because, my friends, I know that we will deliver, we will deliver, and we will deliver. And we will deliver a great victory for the Conservative Party in 2024. Thank you. Thank you.
So Liz Truss is the new leader of the party, not yet Prime Minister, of course. That happens tomorrow. 82% of those eligible voted for her, or voted. 60% for Rishi Sunak, 81% for her. It's interesting to know who didn't vote. In our last few seconds, there you have it.
History made, a third Prime Minister. They both now have to go up to Scotland to meet the Queen. Just that moment when Boris Johnson leaves from his audience, the Queen will be in control of the country for those few seconds. I look forward to that.
That's
something to celebrate.
That
I know, and lots of promises to deliver there. That was the key thing.
Absolutely. I thought that one of the most interesting things she said was at the end, which was she's going to win in 2024 for the Conservative Party. There's been a lot of speculation about whether she would hold an early election. She's basically just battered that out of the water.
Thank you both for staying with us.
Thanks for staying with us, yeah.
Great to have you here. Also, thank you to you for staying with us. Loose Women are here next on ITV, and today they are back with a live audience.
Yeah, we'll be back with you tomorrow for 10 when we're joined by Stephen Mulhern. He's going to be here in the studio. Have a lovely day, and we'll see you again
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye-bye.